investing in yourself, especially learning from somebody who is already doing what you want to do, is not risky. And you're right, the people who believe that's risky are just stuck deep inside the matrix. Because you're right, they're gonna pay 60, 70,000 pounds for a degree from university, which is one, completely useless. And secondly, it's always kind of been amazing to me. You talked about kickboxing. If I wanna go learn kickboxing, I expect my coach to be able to fight. If I wanna go learn piano, I wanna see my piano teacher play piano.
Yeah.
But people will go to university and learn business from a dude who's never had a business, who's broke. It's just like, it's clown world, it's stupid. The first thing you can do is look at somebody's life and go, this guy's living or he's doing exactly what I wanna do. I'll learn from him. That is the smartest thing you can do, as opposed to just going to these traditional educational systems. Because the reason university is such a massive scam, and I said this a million times, is because it exists in an echo chamber. It doesn't exist in fair competition. The reason universities still manage to function is because they'll give children loans to go to these schools, but you're not allowed to use the loan for anything else. If I were to say to the average 18-year-old, here's 50 grand. You can either start your own business, you can buy crypto, you can buy mentorship from you, me, another millionaire online, you can fix your house up or your parents' house up, you can buy a nice car, or you can go get a degree. And you were to give them the 50 G's. How many people do you think would choose a degree?
None.
Nobody. Zero. So they link the loan to the degree. So the choices are either don't get the loan at all, or get the loan and go to school.
Yeah.
I became the most Googled man on the planet, and I had mass influence over the youth, especially males, 18 to 23, 24-year-old males.
Yeah.
And those are the backbone of the slave force. And we always have been and always will be. It doesn't matter if you look at modern times or ancient times. If you had to build an aqueduct or a road or raise an army, you'd go and find the 18 to 22, 23-year-old fighting age males. We're the most important demographic on the planet. We're the strongest, we have the most energy, we're the most capable of doing the most difficult tasks. I don't have a clue how the average person is still surviving. I don't get it. Like 25, 30 grand a year in the current world is such a tiny amount of money. It's man, it's about to be worse than ever before. It's gonna be have-nots and have-yachts. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
But it's gonna become worse and worse. As inflation gets out of control, as the price of assets soar, the rich are gonna become richer and the poor are gonna become poorer. I don't think that most people, I'm gonna correct myself. I know that most people don't understand economics as a whole. They don't understand money as a whole, because if the people watching this, if they all understood how all this shit worked, there'd be a revolution tomorrow. So they don't understand any of it. But it's very difficult for a government to even pretend to give a shit about the average person, to me, because I understand how all this works. So the government comes along and decides to give out free money. The average person in the middle or at the bottom goes, wait, free money, government cares about the poor person. No, they don't. Let's keep it very simple. Let's say they gave every person in the UK £1,000. They're either gonna save that money, or they're gonna spend that money, or they're gonna, let's say, invest that money. If they spend that money, which is what 90% of them would do, it goes to corporations, making the corporations filthy rich. The stock price of Amazon during COVID went to the moon, because everyone's sitting at home bored, just buying stuff, right? So there's less corporations than there are people. So let's say you give everyone in the UK £1,000. A lot of that money goes to one guy, Jeff Bezos. The rich get richer, just like before. Let's say they invest it. Well, they're gonna invest it in what? The stock market? Well, that increases the share price of companies. Who owns companies? Rich people. Let's say somehow 200 of these people are best friends and they're never gonna argue, and they get together and they get £200,000 and they buy a house, for example. That's still gonna raise the price of housing on that street. The house owners, the homeowners are gonna get richer. The people who already own things, the asset owners, are always gonna get richer. No matter what you do, the people who are poor are always gonna get poorer, and the asset owners are always gonna get richer.
Yeah.
And it's running away now to a point where the chance of buying a home on the average salary is near on impossible. I mean, you know some hacks, you know some things about it, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know how people are surviving on this money. Because I come from a council estate in Luton, that's fine. But now I'm living in a world where I can talk a bunch of rich people stuff right here. For me, it's very normal now to jump on a jet from Bucharest, where I live in Romania. I'll go to Monaco, that's 30, 40 grand. We'll go stay in a hotel, which is 5 grand a night. We'll go out for dinner, 3 or 4 of us, that costs 15, 20 grand. We'll have a business meeting, and I'll jet home. I'll spend 200,000 pounds in a weekend to go to a meeting. and I'm not the only one doing it. There's 30 other guys there doing the same thing. Like, I don't think people who are working normal jobs understand that there are people out here making such ridiculous sums of money. And that would be the hardest thing for me if I ever had to get plugged back into the matrix and work for 30 grand a year, is not the wage, just knowing how badly I'm being wrecked.
Yeah.
It would just, I'd be like, knowing how much I'm being screwed would just upset me. But yeah, it's gonna get harder and harder. It's not gonna get any easier. The government has no power to legislate money into the hands of the poor. They can take more money off the rich, or they can attempt to. We can talk about that in a second, because they really can't. But they can attempt to take more money from the rich. But throughout the bureaucracy and the way the machine works and the corruption inside of every government, by the time let's say they take 100 million, let's make it easy numbers, maybe 30 million of it might end up kind of somewhere a little bit. And then we have the same problem we discussed earlier. The poor people just spend it, goes back to the rich people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the way the whole system's set up. The average people come to me and say, what do I do? I'm just the average guy. And my only answer is stop being the average guy. It's my only answer. You can't just be the average guy anymore. The idea from the 1950s that you can just be the normal, average, law-abiding, hard-working citizen and you'll have a good life is gone. Any man out here who goes, I'm just gonna work hard, do my bit, and obey the laws, and I'll have a good life. No, you won't. No, you will not. Just doing your job is never gonna make you rich, because you're just gonna be taxed into infinity and you're gonna stay broke. So just obeying laws and doing your job now has set you up to be a peon, a slave for eternity. You have to get yourself in a position where you're making enough money that, I'm not saying laws can be broken, but there certainly can be bent. I mean, I think you know this with accountancy and the way the tax laws work. You get to a certain level where it's like, okay, yeah, we can just put that one to the side. We can twist that one around.
Arnold Schwarzenegger says, break the rules, but don't break the law.
Completely, yeah, and that's basically it, right? So you get to a certain level, and that's where it's really interesting, because the average peon, their answer to all this is, we need to tax the rich, because they don't understand how money works. They don't understand how the world works, and they think that rich people are out here working some kind of job that you can tax. How do you tax a rich guy? How do you tax a rich man? Firstly, I'm gonna tell you something about myself and most rich people. We don't own anything. I don't own anything. I don't own anything. There may be a trust fund in Ecuador that owns a company in Singapore that might own a yacht that I can borrow. I don't own shit. So that's the first thing. The second thing, you have all these different jurisdictions around the world. It's extremely complicated. How are you gonna tax a rich guy? He has houses here, houses there, company here, company there, all the companies making a loss. Does Starbucks pay tax? No, Starbucks supposedly doesn't make money. Supposedly Uber's never made profit. An app on the phone with millions of cars around the world and people working endless hours for them and them getting a cut of it to run an app. Supposedly they've never made profit, never paid a penny tax. Funny how that works. You can't tax the rich. It's too complicated. You can't tax the rich. It doesn't work. All you're going to do is just drive them into other countries. If England right now today were to announce a huge tax on the rich people would just go, oh, cool. I'll base my company out of Belize. 2 pieces of paper. So let's look at it the American way. In America, litigation is a big problem. Everyone gets sued all the time. So you don't want to own anything, because if you get sued, then you're going to have to pay that debt. And you might have to sell your assets to pay that debt.
Not if it's a company though, if it's a limited company.
Correct. This is the point. So people don't own anything themselves.
Okay, so they only through their company.
It's a limited company owns it,
Yeah,
a trust
yeah,
owns it.
Exactly.
So you understand what I'm saying?